The Axis Veil, the sacred mountain that guards a secret no one survives. To tell Chapter 1. The fifth direction, the compass needle spun wildly in Alara Voss's palm. It wasn't magnetized, at least not in any ordinary sense. The artifact had never responded to the Earth's poles, to GPS, or even to interference from a Faraday cage. But now, in the middle of the windswept Tibetan plateau, the strange metallic arrow stopped twitching and pointed steadily toward Mount Kailash. She stared at it like it had just spoken. "Ilara," came Tenjin's voice, quiet but firm behind her. "Put it away. The mountain is watching." Ilara clenched the device, tucking it inside her coat. The cold air bit at her cheeks, thin and sharp like it knew it didn't belong on human skin. Before them, the mountain rose, not with arrogance, but indifference. Secret, silent, unclimbed, untouched. The so-called axis of the world. She'd studied dozens of ancient maps, written in tongues long silenced. In each one, Kailash wasn't just a mountain. It was a center, a meeting point of ley lines, a mirror of Orion's belt, a marker for a celestial gate older than civilization. And now, her brother's final gift, the artifact, was waking up like it recognized home. Professor Julian Cross exhaled beside her, fogging up his cracked spectacles. "You feel it too, don't you?" She didn't respond. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a torn page from his journal, yellowed and shaking in his fingers. On it, a sketch of the mountain from above, overlaid with a perfect pentagram. 5 directions, he whispered. North, south, east, west, and... He tapped the center of the star, inward. Tenjin's prayer beads clicked softly in rhythm as he murmured a mantra under his breath. "Some paths lead you up," he said, "but the ones that matter lead you in." Ilara turned. "Do you believe there's something inside the mountain?" "I believe the mountain is the inside," Tenjin replied. "A reflection, a lock, a veil." She almost laughed. Almost, but then she looked up again. A ring of clouds had begun circling the summit. Not over it, but around it, as if orbiting. The mountain's peak remained untouched, pristine. It always was. No climber had ever reached it. Not legally, not alive, but someone had tried. Her brother. 3 years ago, he had gone missing near this very spot. Before he disappeared, he sent Ilara one final message. "The fifth direction is real. If I don't come back, follow the hum." And now, the hum was here, faint, vibrating through her chest, not her ears. A low, ancient frequency, almost like chanting, almost like breathing. The base camp was modest. Just 3 insulated tents, equipment crates, solar panels. They couldn't risk attracting attention from the Chinese authorities, let alone the Astronexus Foundation, whose satellite data had first revealed the geometric anomalies inside the mountain. Ilara had only seen that data because a former CERN colleague had leaked it to her on a burner drive. It had been labeled, "Kailash Core Non-Natural Interference Patterns, Do Not Transmit." She did, and then she came here. Julian poured 2 shots of yak butter tea, handing her one without comment. The man looked older than his years, what whiskey and lost credibility would do to a person. But in his rambling, fragmented notes, Ilara had found the clues her scientific peers had mocked. "Have you told Tenjin the real reason we're here?" he asked. Ilara shook her head. "I'm not ready for him to walk away." Julian grunted. "He won't. He's part of it. He's always been part of it." She turned to the journal again. One page showed a glyph she couldn't read. Swirling shapes forming a spiral of 5 arms. Anya Desai, their linguistic expert, hadn't yet translated it, but she claimed it was written in pre-Sanskrit Bond script, a language so old it wasn't supposed to exist in written form. The symbols translated loosely to, "Only the mirrored soul may pass the gate." What does that even mean? Ilara murmured. Julian looked grim. "It means we're not dealing with doors. We're dealing with reflections." That night, Ilara dreamed of glass. Endless panels of it, forming a maze in black space. Each reflected not her image, but versions of herself she didn't recognize. In one, she wore monastic robes. In another, she was older. In one, her eyes glowed silver. And in one, she was falling, endlessly, toward a point of light that pulsed like a heartbeat. She awoke to Tenjin kneeling beside her, face pale. "The wind is speaking," he said softly. A roar thundered outside, though the sky remained cloudless. The compass in her coat pocket vibrated like a ticking clock. She yanked it out. It spun again, then stopped violently. Not toward Kailash, toward a rock formation behind the tents. A hidden door. They reached the stone outcropping in minutes. Anya had joined them, wrapped in thermal layers, her eyes wide. The glyph from Julian's journal had appeared, carved on the stone, glowing faintly under the moonlight. The spiral shape, alive with blue veins of light. "No one's ever documented this," Anya whispered. Julian nodded, because it wasn't meant to be found. Until now. Tenjin stepped forward, placing his palm over the glyph. The wind stopped. Silence. Then, the stone shifted. The rock peeled open, not crumbling, but retracting like an ancient machine coming to life. Beyond it, darkness. A descending tunnel, carved smooth, geometrically perfect. Alara turned to Tenjin. "What's down there?" He didn't answer. "Because the mountain did." The hum grew louder. And then, a pulse of light from within. Not natural, not human. A low, intelligent tone vibrated up from the tunnel. Almost a voice. Almost a call. Julian muttered, half terrified. "It's not just a mountain, it's a vessel." Alara's heart pounded. The compass in her hand spun once more and shattered. They had opened the first gate, and something inside was now awake. Chapter 2. The descent within the tunnel was colder than the air outside, and quieter than death. Its walls were smooth, not chipped or carved by human hands, but sculpted, as if pressure and geometry had folded the stone inward along invisible fault lines. There were no torch marks, no tool traces, no dust. Just silence. And the spiral glyphs? Dozens of them, each glowing with that same pale, bioluminescent blue. Dr. Alara Voss ran her gloved fingers over one, watching as its light shimmered beneath her touch. It felt warm. Alive. Anya Desai followed close behind, eyes scanning every surface, muttering half-formed translations in Sanskrit, Bon, and Proto-Tibetan. "These aren't just texts," she whispered. "They're formulas. The same sequences repeat every 5 glyphs, but they morph slightly each time, like the language is evolving as it moves deeper." Julian Cross laughed, though it sounded more like a wheeze. "A language that rewrites itself the closer you get to the source. Beautiful." Tenjin said nothing. He trailed behind them all, lips moving silently in prayer. His face looked different down here, stripped of its serenity, tense, watching the symbols like they might leap from the walls. They reached the first chamber after 75 meters of descent. It was circular, an impossible dome hollowed into the heart of the mountain, no larger than a chapel. The ceiling rose into a perfect spiral, each tier etched with symbols that seemed to bend when you looked too long. In the center, a platform of obsidian-like stone, and resting on it, untouched by time, was a sculpture. A 5-faced figure. Not human. Not entirely. Each face looked in a different direction. One serene, one weeping, one screaming, one smiling, one featureless. And in its chest was a shallow cavity, like a heart-shaped recess. Julian stepped forward, breath fogging the air. "I've seen this god before," he said. "In Nepal, in pre-Vedic myths. They called it Vatara, the one who faces all paths." Anya blinked. "That's impossible. Vatara predates iconography. There are no confirmed depictions of it." "You're looking at one," Julian said, awe-soft. "And the cavity? It's for an offering." Alara opened her palm slowly, revealing the broken compass artifact. The needle had shattered, yes, but the core remained. A coin-sized disc of iridescent metal, warm to the touch. It pulsed faintly, as if aware of where it was. Tenjin stepped forward. "That does not belong here." Alara turned. "It came from here." "No." His voice was steady now, firmer. "It was sent out, carried away, like a key stolen from a locked door." Anya was staring at him, brow furrowed. "You're changing, Tenjin." He looked away. Alara approached the sculpture. The disc in her hand hummed. The figure's chest responded, emitting a matching tone. It wanted to be reunited. "Wait!" Julian snapped. "That thing might activate something." Alara looked at him. "That's the idea." She placed the disc into the cavity. It clicked, locked in. Nothing happened. Then, everything happened. The chamber shook, but without sound. The symbols on the walls flared, like lightning, like memory. Images surged across the stone like holograms etched in air. Pyramids beneath ice, spiral galaxies mirrored in stone, celestial alignments over forgotten temples, and then a map. Floating in the space between the sculpture and Alara, a 3-dimensional lattice began to form, rotating, shifting, centering on Earth. Lines of force stretched across continents, converging at a single point, Mount Kailash. "Oh, no ley line map has ever shown this," Alara whispered. "They've all been incomplete." Anya leaned in. "It's not a map," she said. "It's a design." Julian's eyes widened. "A machine." Tenjin stood apart, trembling now. "This is not a gift," he said. "It is a test, and we are failing." Alara turned to him. "You knew something like this existed." "I dreamt of it," he admitted. "But not like this. In my dreams, the sculpture cried." Anya's voice wavered. "Guys, the smiling face, it's smiling now, it wasn't before." Everyone turned. She was right. The face once serene was now grinning. Not carved. Shifted. The stone had moved. Julian took a slow step back. "That's not architecture. That's interaction." Then the dome walls began to breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Not physically, but energetically. Like the air pressure shifted in waves, syncing with the group's heartbeat, matching them. sinking them. Then a voice, not heard but felt, pulsing behind the eyes, a tone that became words without sound. The fifth direction is within, but not all who look will see. Alara gasped. That was my brother's voice. No, Tenjin whispered. It was your own! From beyond the veil! Then the room fell silent again. The map vanished. The faces returned to stillness. The disc ejected, cracked now, steaming. And in the tension that followed, Julian turned to Alara with something between reverence and fear. You're not just following the mystery anymore, he said. You are the mystery. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Anya said, what if this chamber is only the first? What if the deeper we go, the more it changes us? Alara glanced at Tenjin. You said we were failing. What did you mean? Tenjin didn't meet her gaze. Instead, he looked at the sculpture and whispered, because something is listening, and it's not done judging. Chapter 3. The monk's prophecy. Tenjin knelt in the shadows of the chamber long after the others had left. The sculpture loomed before him, its 5 faces once again still, stone, empty. But he felt it watching, even without movement. The air here carried weight, not just the mountains. Something older, deeper, coiled within it like a breath that had never fully exhaled. The chamber had shown them the map, the convergence, the pulse of hidden order. But it had shown him something else, and it terrified him. He closed his eyes and let the vision return. In the dream? Or was it memory? He stood not before the mountain, but inside it. Yet there were no walls, only sky, kaleidoscopic and endless. A cosmos spun on vertical axes, constellations folding into themselves like breathing origami. And at the center of this impossible space hovered the same 5-faced sculpture. Only now it pulsed with light, not carved. Alive. Tenjin felt the presence of the others. Alara, Julian, Anya, each pulled into their own personal spiral. But his path was different. The floor beneath him cracked like parchment, and through it, he fell. Not down, but inward. He landed in a monastery he had never seen, yet instantly recognized. Wind chimes whispered without wind. Candles burned with no flame. The monks who surrounded him wore no faces. An elder stepped forward, cloaked in red and gold, head lowered. You are the bridge, the elder said, though no mouth moved. But bridges break when walked in both directions. Tenjin tried to speak, but his voice was taken. You were born beneath the Jupiter star eye, the voice continued. You hear the mountain because you are of it. But now the others descend, and the gate does not like to open, not again. Then the elder raised his face. It was Tenjin's own face. Older, tired, eyes hollowed by truths too deep to hold. If they pass the 5th veil untested, the elder warned, the core will invert, and the axis will rupture. Tenjin reached out, but the elder shattered like ice, revealing a spiral glyph burning into the sky. He screamed and awoke. Now in the chamber, his hands trembled. Not from fear, from knowing. The others thought they were explorers, seekers, scientists, but none of them truly belonged here, except him. And that was the burden. The prophecy his teachers had whispered of. The child born under the eye-star alignment, whose dreams would echo the hum beneath the sacred. It had always seemed metaphorical, poetic, the kind of story monks told to young novices who asked too many questions. But now the prophecy was unfolding. Glyph by glyph, breath by breath. He stood and turned, intending to leave the chamber. But the hallway shimmered. Someone was already there. Alara. She stood at the edge of the shadows, her face illuminated by the faint blue glow of the glyphs. I thought you'd still be here, she said. Her tone wasn't accusing, just certain. Tenjin said nothing. You knew more than you told us, she continued. Didn't you? He hesitated, then nodded. I did not think the gate would stir, not yet. What gate? He met her eyes. The one within you, within all of us. She looked startled and then skeptical, but something in her softened. When I placed the artifact in the sculpture, I heard my brother's voice. But it wasn't him. No, Tenjin said quietly. It was you. She stepped closer. What is this place really, Tenjin? He closed his eyes. It is a mirror for those who come seeking truth. And what do you see when you look into it? He opened his eyes. I see the end of the world. Not in fire, not in war, but in knowledge too vast to bear. A silence stretched between them. You're afraid we'll go too far? She asked. Tenjin shook his head. I am afraid you already have. A pulse rippled through the glyphs along the wall. Faint, like a heartbeat answering his. Alara, he said carefully. If you go deeper, if you open the next chamber, you may not return unchanged. I don't care, she replied. You should. She stepped into the corridor. Come with me. Tenjin hesitated. He heard the voice of the vision again. Bridges break when walked in both directions. Still, he followed. Because whether he warned them or not, the fifth veil was already unraveling, and the mountain was waking,